What's going on, everybody? Zero Straw Hats here. All you guys are more than welcome just to call me Jordan. I'm here today to do my review for Monster. This is a very popular series, and a series I know a lot of people already know about, but I still want to review it because one, I just got done reading it and I'm just excited to talk about it. And two, there might still be some of you guys out there who haven't read it. So yeah, just gonna go ahead and talk about Monster. I'm gonna show you guys right here the first volume. This is Monster Volume 1. There's 9 of these big volumes of Monster. You can also get them in the singles. I'm pretty sure the singles are pretty hard to find now. But these, volumes are very nice and they're pretty easy to pick up. The series is by Nakura Urasawa, who is like a very famous mangaka. If you're a fan of manga, even if you haven't read Monster, you've probably heard of the name. He's done this as well as 20th Century Boys. I know he's done a lot of other work as well. Definitely a very established manga creator. So what is Monster about? I really don't want to say too much about it from the very beginning because even the slightest details of what this story is about is kind of spoiler heavy, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about it and then explain a little bit more towards the end when there is a spoiler warning on what the series is about. But for right now, what I'm gonna say is the series is about a doctor named Tenma and his journey to clear his name for some very crazy thing that happened. I know that's very vague, but I don't want to explain too much because even like I said, like the smallest detail about what happens very early in the story can be considered a spoiler. So I feel like a lot of people already know kind of the main idea of what the story is about, but I'm going to save that to the end just in case with the spoiler warning. The thing that really makes this series shine is the characters, and I think there's no better way to start off than to talk about the main villain in the series, Johan. He is this absolutely crazy villain. He's not this character who's gonna come and do all these really savage fighting or all these cool things. Everything he does is psychological. But even when you just see him in the panel, you can feel his presence. You can feel this evil aura around him. I don't even know how to explain it. But the way that in just a panel you can just feel that character's presence in a scene, truly amazing. Johan's a great character and a very good villain. So if nothing else, then you should be reading this because the way Nakura Urasawa goes about telling this story though is what really hooks me. It's very different from most characters. He's not scared to go away from the main character Tenma for chapters at a time and then come back to him later. I've heard people complain about this, but I actually really enjoy it how we'll meet these characters and they'll get very well developed, and somehow towards the end of their arc they will tie back around to Tenma and to the main story that's going on. And I really like that. There's so many great characters outside of the main characters that you meet that you really genuinely care for, and they do take the time for those characters to grow. And I like how eventually that they're gonna come into that Tenma or someone is gonna somehow integrate into their story, but how they do it is always very interesting. There's probably only 1 or 2 times where I thought it was kind of just very easily done. It wasn't very as well put together, but most of the time when a character is introduced to the main characters, they do it in an interesting way and it doesn't seem forced. Every character that they focus on in the series, whether it's the detective or the doctor or the twin of Johan or any other character you meet, a couple of other villains as well, each character has so much to them. Another character that was in the story was Grimmer, and he was a very amazing character. Like I said, I don't want to say too much about these characters because the slightest details can spoil, but he really, from the first time I met him to the end, truly one of my favorites. I really enjoyed Grimmer, and I just wanted to at least shout him out for being a great character. But there's so many great characters in the show that you will definitely go to enjoy at least one, probably most of them. Now there's 2 more points I really want to talk about this manga, and the first one is going to be the art. And when it comes to Nakura Urasawa's art, I don't necessarily think he's the best. There's definitely better artists out there, but his art fits his story well, and he does it very well, and you never feel like his art is dragging down the story at all. The last thing I really want to bring up when I'm talking about Monster is the ending, and from what I've understood now that I've finished with it and talked to a couple other people, and also just did a couple watching videos online and seeing people's opinions on Reddit and all this different stuff, it's a very controversial ending. Some people liked it, some people didn't. I necessarily I liked it. I wanted just a bit more out of the ending, but I understand why they did it the way they did. It's one of those endings where once you're done watching the series, you're kind of gonna want to sit back and think about what really happened and if that was something that should have happened or not. I don't really know how to say it any other way than that, but it's a good ending, and I think the story as a whole is very well put together, but the ending may leave you just feeling a little bit unsatisfied. And now that we kind of talked about the series as a whole, I would like to go back real quick and go back to the beginning and explain what it is about, because like I said, it's really hard to explain it without talking about these details from the first, I want to say 2 to 3 chapters of the story. So if you have not read Monster and you don't want to be spoiled to like very early things that happen in the very beginning of Monster, go ahead and get off this video now. This is your spoiler warning, but if you want to stay and know what happens to set up the story of Monster, go ahead and stay with me. So going back to what I said in the beginning, Dr. Tenma is a surgeon, and really what sets up the story is when he is doing an operation on a man, and he is asked to leave that operation because a opera singer who is very like well known gets taken into the hospital, and that's like a bigger operation. So he decides to work. So he has to go and work on the opera singer and leave the other worker who got hurt in an accident to a different doctor. And of course that other worker didn't make it and the opera singer lived. Dr. Tenma gets told by his girlfriend at the time that not every single life is made equally, and because of that he's really thinking about that the whole time, and he feels really bad about what happened. And then it comes to a point where he is working on a little boy who was in an accident. He got shot and he's dying, and then the mayor of the town or someone really important came, and the same kind of thing happened, that he was asked to leave that surgery to go work on the mayor. And of course this time he refused to do it because the boy came in first and he saved the boy's life, but by doing that he ruined his reputation, and he wasn't really he kind of messed up his whole career really when it comes to him being a surgeon in Germany. And this is when the story really gets interesting. Years later, that little boy who Tenma saved grows up to be a serial killer by the name of Johann, and of course Dr. Tenma feels terrible knowing that he saved his life and chooses to try and kill him. You can kind of say that Dr. Tenma chose to do it to save his own like name, because he kind of gets blamed for the crimes, but I really think it was more because he wanted to kill Johann, because he's the one who saved them and allowed all these crimes to happen, which he feels terrible about. So that's kind of where it happens. Johann also does have a sister, a twin sister, who's very important to the story as well. And that's really all I can really say without spoiling too much. But with all that being said, my opinion on Monster is very high. Definitely one of the best manga I've read. Not my favorite, but it's really, really good. It's really high up there. I've been hearing the name Nakura Osawa for a long time, and his first work I've read, Monster, definitely did not disappoint, and I definitely recommend you guys read it. And if you have read it, and please go ahead and hit me up and talk to me about what you think about the ending. I would love to have some conversations with you guys about that. But of course, we should be spoiler careful for the people who haven't. But yeah, that's all I really have for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I want to quickly thank everyone who helped me get to 100 subscribers. It's not my end goal, but to finally get 100 is really good. It feels good. Thank you every single one of you guys who are subscribed and who are watching these videos. I will see you next time. Zero Straw Hats here. Go ahead and subscribe. See you later.